Welcome back. Well, moving on to our first segment for today to talk more about Gaza Strip and to shed the light on the current situation and allowing more humanitarian aid to enter into the Strip. Over the phone, we have Ambassador Wafaa Basseem, former Assistant Minister of Foreign Affairs. Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Well, first of all, I'd like to shed the light on the current situation in Gaza, taking into consideration the Egyptian efforts to reach this ceasefire and allowing more humanitarian aid. I think this is the biggest amount of humanitarian aid to enter to Gaza Strip.
Of course, Egypt being one of the engineers of the ceasefire, with efforts that have been exerted as far back as October 2023, a few days after the Israeli attacks on Gaza. Egypt has exerted strenuous efforts with different partners, particularly Qatar and the United States of America, through a continuous series of meetings, initiatives, proposals, until we finally reach that ceasefire that we consider paramountly important to keep. The ceasefire is fragile because of the repetitive declarations that are quite bothering and concerning on the part of the Israeli government of the extreme right. Now we are finally on our second week of the ceasefire. The schedule for the exchange of detainees and prisoners is going on through the efforts of Egypt, and as we have seen, the highest amount of humanitarian aid is now passing through the Rafah crossing on the part of the Egyptian borders, which we have never closed, by the way. If Rafah has been closed for a while, it was on the part of the Israeli side. The humanitarian aid is thousands and thousands of tons of food supplies, fuel and energy, medical supplies, and that are passing through, whether coming of Egypt, who is presenting the biggest amount of these supplies, or from other countries, humanitarian organizations, and that are facilitating the entry of these aid or assistance. We are insisting Egypt on the role of UNRWA, and it has to continue despite the threatening or the decision of the Israeli government to close the premises, the main premises of UNRWA in Jerusalem. At this moment, many hospitals have been erected on the Egyptian side, whether in Sinai, Arif and Sheikh Zayed, also along the Suez Canal. Different hospitals have been allocated to receive thousands of Palestinians wounded or chronically sick patients with very, very serious diseases like cancer, kidneys, heart problems, and particularly women and children. Big hospitals also in Cairo have been prepared to receive the Palestinians who need treatment after many months. We reached almost 15 months of attacks and atrocities in Gaza.
So what are the logistical and security challenges that Egypt faced in reaching this ceasefire and also sending this humanitarian aid?
Well, the logistics, we have known about them all over the time. Destruction of roads, destruction of infrastructure, destruction of hospitals, and even makeshift hospitals, destruction of obstacles put before the humanitarian workers, and many of them have been lost, whether being killed or wounded. Um, there are a lot of difficulties to let the camions pass on the roads that have been destroyed, and the Egyptian part has presented its engineers and its crews teams of rehabilitation of the roads, so to allow the entry of the humanitarian aid. Let's not forget that Rafah is for the passing of the passengers and not for the camions. But nevertheless, Egypt has permitted this passing to work together with also the crossing at Karm Abu Salim. On the other hand, we face, of course, security challenges concerning the national security of Egypt by the proposals that are being now flying in the air, and the last of them, the declaration the new president or the renewed president of the U.S. and other authorities that have started already during the Biden administration of the allocation of the Palestinians of Gaza to other places like Sinai or Jordan or other countries in the region, this way trying to threaten the Egyptian Sinai by making it a site for operations, military operations that would be in violation of the peace treaty on one side, and a chance to kill the Palestinian case by emptying and evacuating the population from their territories. So the idea of the Palestinian state would become unviable, and we would lose credibility, because a state means territory, population. These are main factors of creating a state, and if you evacuate the population, then one of the main factors of a viable state is becoming obsolete.
Well, do we have certain measures adopted to ensure reaching the humanitarian aid into civilians and not diverted?
Well, we have very clearly seen that working with the Red Cross, with the OSHA of the United Nations, which is in charge of all humanitarian operations and actions under the United Nations, we have seen also the cooperation with other humanitarian organizations such as UNRWA, such also the Egyptian Red Crescent. We are all cooperating together to ensure a smooth passage of the humanitarian aid without at the same time breaching any security concerns on the part of the Egyptian side.
So how did Egypt balance its humanitarian efforts with the national security, of course, concerns?
Well, the president has been very clear yesterday that his most priority is the national security of Egypt, which is more than a red line. He clearly said that he will not accept at any price the reallocation of Egypt, of Gaza population into Egypt for three reasons that he clearly states. He will not allow Sinai to become a base for military operations that could turn to terrorist operations. He would not allow the liquidation of the Palestinian state by, or the Palestinian entity, by removing its population from their own territory. He will not allow, and if need be, and if he needs to ask, he will tell Egyptians to come out in millions to refuse this, which would create a very critical security situation in the region, especially if you add to this what would happen also on the Jordanian front. The president is very clear. Nevertheless, he said that he will continue working with partners to ensure, European and Americans, as well as partners in the region, to ensure that the ceasefire continues and becomes a long-term one, and that it's time to ask the international community, which has been, I would say, quite not neutral and unable in the negative sense until now, to take a stand, a strong stand, as far as the Israeli declarations and policies and attacks against the population in Gaza. He is asking the international community to think now and to move now towards a roadmap for negotiation, for creation of a solution just durable for the Palestinian question through the creation of two states, as in the different initiatives that agreed by all parties, and the relevant international jurisprudence and subsequent international resolutions by the Security Council and the General Assembly. The creation of a Palestinian state side by side with the Israeli state in peace, in respect of all international law rulings, and which will be, and with Jerusalem East as the capital of the future Palestinian state.
Well, just very quickly, my last question, as President El-Sisi rejected strongly the relocation or forcing any Palestinians to relocate the Palestinians from their own city, and of course the President clarified this point from the very beginning.
This point has been stressed through the very first conference that was held in Egypt in October 2023, and this was named or titled the Peace Conference in Cairo. From the very first point, Egypt has been aware of the plans and policies of the Israeli right government to evacuate Gaza from its occupants through ethnic cleansing, total destruction of the infrastructure, the hunger policies that was imposed on the Palestinians by preventing humanitarian aid from entering into the Gaza district, Egypt has been very well aware, and repeatedly the president has declared that evacuation of Palestinians, reallocation of them in other territories, especially in Egypt, is not only unacceptable but non-feasible, and it will never be done. That was through his meetings with different heads of states and government, through conferences, whether in Cairo, in Saudi Arabia, or otherwise, different meetings of different entities, the Arab League, the Islamic organization, and until yesterday, with his meeting, in his meeting with the President of Kenya, and during the press conference that took place between the two leaders, President El-Sisi has been very keen and very clear on taking some part of his allocation to re-explain for the millionth time that no evacuation of the Gaza people, that Palestinians have the right to self-determination. They have a land, they have a territory, and they have proved that they will never leave their land, and that the president will not allow this to happen. And
Right.
at the same time, we have seen the proof is that we have a people that does not want to leave his own territory. We have seen those almost 250,000 Palestinians going back to the north despite the obstacles, the difficulties, the bad roads, the bad weather, the hunger, the weakness because of lack of food, lack of services, but they are all going back in enthusiasm to their own home, even if it has been completely destroyed. And this
Right.
proves that
Ambassador Wafaa.
the point of view of President El-Sisi is very clear.
Ambassador Wafaa Basseem, former Assistant Minister of Foreign Affairs, thank you very much for joining us. And moving on to a quick break, then we'll be back.